So I read The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. So let's talk about it. This book follows Lucia, who is a servant during the Spanish Inquisition, and she has magical powers and also has Jewish bloodline. And her powers get discovered by her master, her mistress. Lucia is then forced to enter into this competition held by the king's former secretary so that she can show off her miracles that she performs so that he can get back into his good graces. And she's being sponsored by a man named Don Victor, and she's being trained by his servant, Santingal. And so throughout the book, we see Lucia's relationship with Santingal develop. We see her train, and we see her go through these trials. And we see the way that politics and magic and church and state all kind of intertwine together at this time. So in that sense, it was a very unique and interesting story. Leigh Bardugo writes incredible stories, incredibly interesting stories. There's no doubt about that. I think for me, this book had so many different points of views that it was jumping around from. It was a bit distracting. So you would go from Lucia's point of view in one chapter to Santingal's point of view in another chapter to Valentina's point of view in another chapter. And the voice or the tone wasn't always clear. And that made it really hard to follow. And that was one downside of this book. Another thing that was super frustrating was I could not tell you how many times Lucia was called ugly or plain or boring, and it said that she was just stupid. Like, once you say it once or twice, we get it. She's a boring servant girl. She's not pretty. It doesn't need to be brought up over and over and over again. So that was another thing that just drove me insane throughout this entire book. And continuing along, another thing that was hard for me personally to wrap my head around is the concept of magic and religion being so closely tied together in a book like this, because I don't know where I'm supposed to draw the line of what's happening between what the magic system is and what's supposed to be religion based, because you have something that's very clearly like, oh yes, this is very clearly magic, and then you have something this is religion that's happening and faith-based. So I didn't understand fully what the magic system was supposed to be, if there was supposed to be one, or whether we were just supposed to go on our faith. Perhaps that was the message. Overall, though, I think that this book, while interesting, didn't really do it for me. It didn't fulfill and catch my attention the way that it needed to. and that was disappointing. It fell flat, unfortunately. I think it had so much potential, but I would say it's a 3-star read for me. It's still good, but it has its downfalls and was not the best Leigh Bardugo book I've read. But that's my review of The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo.